The population of Darlington, South Carolina is a little bit over 7,000 people. Today we have more than 10 times that many crowded into the infield and into the stands at the Darlington Raceway. And we're just moments away from the start of the Southern 500. The balloons are away on this surprisingly cool afternoon. Cool by Darlington standards means temperature in the high 80s, and the engines have been started by the gentleman behind the wheel. The cars begin to pull out onto the pace lap. In the front row, Pearson and Allison, then Baker and Waltrip, Parsons and Marcus, Yarborough and Petty, Brooks and Donnie Allison. Everybody seems to be underway. Hi, I'm Bill Fleming, back at this mean old race course in Darlington, South Carolina. You know, I bet if you were to ask the drivers if they had a love-hate relationship for any track in the world, this would be at the top of the list. They love it simply because it was the birthplace of super stock car racing in the United States, but they hate it because it is absolutely almost impossible to drive the course with any consistency. Imagine 367 laps on a course only 1.3 miles around. That's only about half as much as Daytona. Each turn is different, and they have no chance whatsoever to relax on the course. They can't even get the kinks out of their neck. If they do, they look up and they're into the wall. But you needn't take my word for it. Here's what some of the drivers themselves have to say about Darlington.
When you finish a 500-mile race at Darlington, you're totally exhausted.
This is the toughest old racetrack in the world.
There's just not enough room. The track was designed here to run 80 mile an hour on. We run 150. There's just not a whole lot of room. 4 of the last 5 times here, I've ended up in the #1 wall. I don't think anybody knows how much tougher it is than I do.
This is by far the most unpredictable race course I've ever been on. You just never know what's next.
Darlington was originally a one-groove racetrack, and as far as I'm concerned, you still drive it the same way you did then, just like it's a one-groove racetrack.
Well, I've been lucky. I've won here before, but I've never felt comfortable here.
It's like trying to pass a test you haven't studied for.
So that's what the drivers have to say about this grand old lady at Darlington. But now let's check in with the former world champion driver himself, who'll be working in the pit area today with us, Jackie Stewart.
Well, this is mission control, Bill. This is the nerve center. The pits are going to be ever important here at Darlington. They're going to be coming in for a lot of wheel changes here. There's going to be probably wheel changes because of the debris that gets dropped on the racetrack during accident. That's the way people pick up punctures on the racetrack, just as they do on the highway. And here we go, just for the start of the race, so back to you, Bill.
All right, Jack, and here they come out of famous turn 3 at Darlington. One more turn and then down the straightaway. David Pearson and Bobby Allison in the first row. Then Buddy Baker and Darrell Waltrip. Benny Parsons and Dave Marcus. Cale Yarborough and Richard Petty in row 4. Dick Brooks and Donnie Allison. Then Cuckoo Marlin and Jackie Rogers. Dave Cisco, Lenny Pond. As they come down, the pace car goes off. The green flag is going to come out. And the Southern 500 is underway. And look at the acceleration of Bobby Allison in car 2 on the outside of David Pearson in the first row. Darrell Waltrip tucks in behind in 3rd place, and then Buddy Baker. As they roar into the first turn, it's Bobby Allison trying to come back after 2 bad accidents in 1976. Right behind him, David Pearson, who has won 8 big races this year, but who has never won the Southern 500. And on the backstretch, it is Pearson who takes the lead. Pearson cutting off Bobby Allison, Waltrip right behind as they come around turn 3 and come back for the first lap, and it is Pearson officially in the lead, then Bobby Allison, then Darrell Waltrip, Buddy Baker, Benny Parsons, and right behind him, Cale Yarborough, the Grand National point leader. And the man right ahead of Cale, by the way, is the man who's chasing him in the point standings, Benny Parsons, the 1973 Grand National champion. All right, it's David Pearson driving for the famous Wood Brothers, and Bobby Allison for the famous Roger Penske. He's in 2nd place. Darrell Waltrip, who has a new engine builder this season for Mario Rossi. Don Yates is now building the Waltrip engines, and Darrell says he feels a little bit more comfortable. Well, time will tell. Buddy Baker, who's become a racing millionaire this year, has joined the select circle, is in 4th place. Then Benny Parsons in 2nd place in the standings, and Cale Yarborough, who lives just 8 miles from here at Timmonsville, South Carolina. David Pearson in the lead. We'll be back in a moment. Back at the Darlington Raceway, lap 10 of the Southern 500. David Pearson still in the lead. Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip in that order. And it's time now to check in with Jackie Stewart.
Bill, I've been to Darlington a few times, but I've never been at this time of the year where the temperatures are so cool. It's normally so humid here you can hardly take a breath, and the drivers must be finding that a bit of a relief, certainly around there.
Oftentimes, we have track temperatures better than 120 degrees, and I'm sure they're much cooler than that this afternoon. And now here goes Bobby Allison taking the lead from David Pearson. David had it from the very first lap. Now Bobby Allison has taken the lead from Pearson, and Pearson seems to be slowing down a little bit. Waltrip is coming right up on him. So as Bobby Allison flashes by, Pearson is in second, Waltrip is in third, then Buddy Baker and Cale Yarborough has moved ahead of Benny Parsons into fifth place in the standings. But it's a long, long way to go.
So far, Darlington's been very kind on everyone, Bill. This is a racetrack that everyone has a great deal of respect for. They're concerned. I'm sure they're being a little bit careful. We haven't seen a single incident so far, and I'm sure it's the drivers that are really taking care not to get in trouble.
Darrell Waltrip pulling right up behind David Pearson, and as David Pearson comes down that stretch, he pulls over in the slow lane, and it enables Waltrip rather easily to take second place. I've never seen David pull over before. Jackie, maybe it's significant.
Well, I think he's moved over because he's getting a little bit slower, and he thinks maybe the lead car's getting a bit too far out in front. He's allowing the other car, Waltrip, to pass him in order to get that gap filled up into the car, get into a spin, Bill.
And it's Donnie Allison in car number 28 in a long slide. Immediately, the yellow caution light goes on, but without spinning all the way around, Donnie Allison controls the car, stops the spin, and we do have a caution light. Boy, what a skillful bit of driving by the veteran Donnie Allison.
And there the pace car goes out. That was well held there. The yellow flag is out, of course, because of that spin. They've got to look at the racetrack, make sure that there's no oil on the racetrack, and that's what the pace car is doing right now. But it was well controlled. He didn't hit anything, which is quite something at that sort of speed.
So it enables the cars to come in, and I rather imagine, yep, here comes Bobby Allison. And here's David Pearson will be coming on in, and if he does have a problem in handling, they'll certainly correct that. All right, we'll be returning here to Darlington. Right now, let's check in with Frank Gifford. Thank you, Frank. Back here at the Darlington Raceway, along with Jackie Stewart, we're moving into the 100th lap, and we have an average speed at the end of 90 laps of 133 miles an hour. And as you can see, Cale Yarborough, car number 11, is in the lead. Then Richard Petty in the familiar 43. And right behind him is Donnie Allison, who spun earlier, who had a caution flag go out, but he's right back up there in third place. We've only had one other caution. That was on lap 67, a spin by Bruce Jacoby. It's been a very fast and safe race. Jackie?
I think to come up after a spin of this kind is a terrific thing, and he's now making an attempt to pass Richard Petty down on the inside, but he's not going to make it this time. He's very low. He's coming close. He's tucking back in. Not an easy place to pass Richard Petty, but my goodness, a great way for Donnie to catch up, because these are fast men in this field. It's not easy after a spin to catch up that much road.
Donnie Allison is driving car number 28. Normally, we see A.J. Foyt in that car, but Donnie has taken it over for today. You don't see him on the circuit in that many races, but he's doing a great job, and his brother Bobby has come into the pits. And under the green, Jackie, that could be a problem in that car.
Yeah, they're getting inside the car. It's not just a question of changing tires or putting in fuel. They're not changing any tires. It's a mechanical problem of some kind, and that can't be good for him. He's losing an awful lot of time. It's not a rush pit stop, Bill.
Boy, this has not been what you could call a banner year for Bobby. He's had 2 accidents this year, and although on the outside of the first row in this race, he is now still in the pits, and they're back racing under the green again, so he's losing valuable time. Yarborough, Petty, and Donnie Allison in that order on the race course. And now Petty pulls down on the inside and allows Donnie to go by, so maybe Richard is having a problem.
This is the same sort of move as David Pearson made earlier on there. He's just letting the other car through there, being a gentleman, and of course sometimes racing drivers are gentlemen, but there's a gentleman who is a little bit upset. Bobby Allison's still in the pits. The car beginning to roll, but he's still in there. It's a very leisurely stop indeed.
Well, he's lost 2 laps to the leaders under the green, and now Donnie Allison is challenging for the lead. And I believe he's got it. He's got it from Cale Yarborough. So Donnie Allison, who spun early in the race, has now taken the lead from Cale Yarborough. What a story it would be. And Richard Petty, who had slowed down earlier, is coming into pit row. Tires on the right side, outside, and a long slide, and there is Donnie Allison into the wall. Allison, who spun earlier, is not as fortunate this time. The metal has grazed the wall, and it looks like a bad, bad afternoon finish now.
He certainly shortened the chassis of that car. It's a new compact 28 there is there. He's okay. He's moving around, taking his gloves off. He's trying to get the net away from the doorway there. Of course, the doors are welded up in these cars. There's no windows in them, and they have a net there that they're trying to disconnect right now to stop a driver from being injured in the case of a rollover. The yellow flag being shown to the rest of the field, and they'll all be coming into the pits.
It's hard to speculate on what happened, but the leader, Donnie Allison, is into the wall, and he's out of the car. Here he's coming back. I'm sure he is not very happy. Boy, he's got smoke coming out of his ears. Well, we've had 3 caution flags, 2 of them caused by Donnie in spin, so maybe the car just simply was too loose and was not handling properly. But that enables Cale Yarborough to inherit the lead on the spin, and Cale is back out there, but David Pearson got out ahead of him, and it looks like Cale bumped the wall there, Jackie.
Yeah, he kissed the wall there. It doesn't look too bad at this time, but the car doesn't seem to be handling well. It's moving around the road an awful lot, and there's other cars passing him. It could be a little worse. It was around the wheel that he hit it. That isn't looking good for him.
Well, let's take a look at it again. You see Pearson ahead of him there. Now, Bobby bears out a little bit here, and I think Cale just tried to squeeze through, and there, oh, I see what it is. It's one of those big concrete stanchions that's on the inside as a reinforcement. There it is. Well, he really gave that rear end a whack.
That could cause a lot of trouble, and look what's happened. They've taken the wheel off the car now, and look at the damaged wheel. Look how much damage they've done to that. It looks very serious indeed. For the wheel to get that sort of damage done to it, the chances are it's damaged more in that rear axle there.
Look at Junior Johnson down there with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, that's a little piece of manicuring being done to the rear end.
All right, well, Cale Yarborough indeed had, there's nothing more than just gross bad luck on that one. Trying to squeeze out of pit row. The car is moving, but, that whole rear end is sliding sideways. I don't know, Jackie, it doesn't look very good for Cale.
Well, that car's going along there in a sort of crab-like movement, and he's pulling into the pits. He's pulling in behind the pits, into the paddock area. That means they're going to try and repair the car, or he's going to withdraw from the motor race. And look how it's crabbing along there, going sideways. The track would only take a couple of laps like that, Bill.
It's going to take major surgery to get him back in. Back in a moment. Cale Yarborough's car is back in the garage area. The rear end is jacked up. The mechanics are underneath, and the word we get is that the rear axle is bent. But Jackie Stewart's on the scene, so let's get a word with him.
Cale Yarborough is still in the race car. He's waiting for these men to change a complete axle unit. This, for me, is one of the remarkable things about stock car racing. They do major surgery in motor cars here in the pits and get back out there. The reason for this amount of work being done at this time is not just this race, but the point situation in the NASCAR Championship Trail. Cale Yarborough is leading the championship at this time. He's got a 75-point lead on the next man up. There's Benny Parsons and Richard Petty very close behind Cale Yarborough. It's not only today's race at Darlington that he has and these mechanics have in mind as they do this major job. It's the season's championship.
And what an important thing it is to Cale Yarborough. Despite his great successes in NASCAR racing, he's never been the Grand National Champion. And now the green flag is out. Car number 21, David Pearson, is first on the race course, but he is not first in the Southern 500. As a matter of fact, he is now running in 4th place and is in danger of being lapped. The leader at the present moment is car number 15. That is Buddy Baker. Baker into turn 3. And in 2nd place in the standings is car number 88, Darrell Waltrip. There he is, just about 30 yards behind Baker. Now, David Pearson, right there in 21, is currently in 4th place because Dave Marcus in 71 is the 3rd place car, and he right now is in danger of being lapped by Buddy Baker. And he certainly does not want that to happen at this point in the race. And back in the garage area, as you can see, they're working frantically trying to get that rear end out of Cale's car and the rear end in an identical Chevrolet, the Childress car, into it. And there is the wreck of Donnie Allison coming back into the garage area. And it's Buddy Baker who has the lead, and he's coming right up behind Dave Marcus. and it looks like he's going to lap him. So Buddy Baker is in the lead. Darrell Waltrip is second, and Marcus, although he is left here, is third, and Pearson is fourth. So Buddy Baker is flying, and they touch. Baker is going to spin right here. As he comes down, he slams into the inside retaining wall on the backstretch. Buddy Baker got out of shape when he passed Marcus in lapping him, and it looks like Buddy Baker is through for the afternoon. I've never seen a day like this. So many of the favorites meeting with mishap here at the Darlington Racecourse. The old lady is really kicking up her heels today. Well, he got it going, but he has got a lot of bent metal up front, and that left front tire is absolutely rubbing right against the front fender. Let's call in Jackie Stewart for an analysis. Jackie, what do you think happened?
Well, as they were coming round there, Buddy Baker went low. He seemed to have made the pass, but then he started to go back up on the racetrack. The car broke loose just at that point. The rear end, you can see the puff of smoke there from the car. That means the tires are smoking, and then the contact came. But the contact from Dave Marcus only came after Buddy Baker lost control of that car. He collected the car, he went back up the racetrack again, almost hit Dave Marcus, almost sideswiped him, spun the car completely round. Of course, by that time getting close to the wall, smashed into the wall and came to a stop. But he's back out on the racetrack trying to get round, but that front tire is getting against the fender, and that's the smoke that you're seeing right now.
And the yellow is still out because of that. And here's another car sideways on the race course under the yellow. Oh, and he takes a tremendous smash on the side. Car number 92 is Skip Manning. Joe Frasson in 18 just broadsided him. Oh, that is a very serious hit. That was a tremendous impact. I'll tell you, Jackie, what surprises me is the force of it. They're running under the yellow, and Frasson was really moving.
Well, they were going very fast even under the yellow, but that driver was hit right in the driver's seat, more or less. It's what they call down here is T-boning, and I'm afraid this could be a very serious accident. They must have been doing well over 100 miles an hour when that impact came round. We're seeing the driver, and we're certainly not seeing the worst of this car because it was hit on the driver's side where these men are working. You can see the crews working feverishly there. They're well equipped, of course, in NASCAR. There's the record crew coming up. And
there's Frasson getting out of car number 18. Big Joe climbs out. He looks a little shaken, too. It came so suddenly and unexpectedly. All of a sudden, here was a car broadside in the track, and Frasson just nailed him. Skip Manning is conscious. The driver of the car that was hit is conscious. He's got that paramedic neck brace on.
They've put that on him, I'm sure, the emergency crews, but he's been hit right in the center only by the fact that these NASCAR cars are so well protected. Is he okay and alive?
Now here is Buddy Baker. Buddy Baker has come back in, and he's coming back in. I thought he might go back out of the course. He spins it around. Well, that does it for the afternoon. I don't know whether he did it in a fit of pique or whether the rear end locked up on him or not. No, he's storming mad. Boy, Jackie, he looks to me like he could be the meanest trooper in the world if he were a cop.
Buddy. Oh, man, get away.
Oh, I guess he's hot.
He's really storming. He's had a problem out there. He maybe thinks it's his fault. He maybe thinks it's the other driver's fault, but he doesn't know what to make up his mind on.
Well, while the safety crewmen are working to free Skip Manning, we'll be back to reconstruct that accident right after this message. The rescue crews are still working to free Skip Manning from the car after he was broadsided. They've cut one portion of the car away, but his left leg and ankle is still trapped. Skip Manning, who finished 9th at Talladega, looked like he was going to have a good year. He was coming up fast, and that's the car that hit him. Well, Jackie, as you can see, the right front side of Frasson's car is mangled, but here it is again.
Well, what happened was the 92 car almost stopped at the center of the racetrack, came to a stop almost, and just at that time, Joe Frasson came charging along at well more than 100 miles an hour. Now, that impact there is 3,700 pounds of motor car traveling at more than 100 miles an hour. What impact that must represent, I don't know. But it was right by the driver's door. And I can only think that he is a very lucky man to be in that kind of car.
Now they have cut the entire left side of the car away. They've cut the top off the car. He is conscious. He doesn't seem to be in pain. Now let's check in and see what happened from Joe Frasson's viewpoint. Jackie?
Joe, how are you feeling?
I'm pretty sore, Jackie. That was an awful sudden stop out there.
Where is it? Is it around your middle?
Yeah, it's all the way across here where the seat belts were holding me. When I hit, I got a strip about 4 inches wide where the belts grabbed me so tight, I just got a big open bleeding sore all the way around my body.
What speed were you doing when you T-boned the 92 car?
Well, we were running just about at racing speed, even though the caution was out. We were trying to close up on the leaders. And I just went down in number 1 corner, and I seen the smoke come off the back of the car. And he just sat in the middle of the track sliding. And I kept on the track as long as I could, you know, waiting to decide whether I had to go up or down. And when I thought he was going to go up and pop the wall, I shot down on the apron. And he got just enough of a bite to shoot down in front of me, and I T-boned him right in the driver's door.
So you must have been doing more than 100 miles an hour.
I'd say we were probably still doing around 125 or 30.
Well, Skip Manning has been taken out of the car. He's being put in the ambulance. He is conscious, but they have the left ankle encased in a cast, and that is the remains of the car that they really have cut away. They actually had saws down there cutting it away. And in the meantime, back in the garage area, this is the bent rear axle of the Cale Yarborough, car number 11, and that is the new one they're going to put in. So he has lost about, I'd say, 28 to 30 minutes so far, but they are determined to get him back on the race course. Well, a lot has happened here today. Cale, who's been sitting in the car for a half an hour, is unaware of most of it. He does know, however, that the bent axle has been removed, a new one is being put on, and he hopes to get back racing. We're going to return shortly for the conclusion of the Southern 500, but right now we'll go back to Silver Springs, Florida for more of the World Professional High Diving Championship. Here's Frank Gifford and Ken Sitzberger. Okay, thanks, Evil. We have less than 100 laps to go in the Southern 500. In the lead is car number 71, Dave Marcus, then 21, David Pearson, and 88, Darrell Waltrip. 25 cars in the race right now. We've had 6 caution flags for a total of 54 laps. We've had 24 lead changes with 10 different drivers. So how is that for action here this afternoon? And Dave Marcus squeezes off. David Pearson forces him back to second, and Waltrip is right behind him. Incidentally, we have a good hospital report on Skip Manning. We'll get to it in a moment, but there is trouble on the racetrack. Car number 19, that is Henley Gray, coming down. There were 2 other cars involved as the yellow caution flag once again goes out at Darlington. Henley Gray in 19, Neil Bonnet was involved in that accident. And also car number 70, J.D. McDuffie. And here comes Cale Yarborough back in once again to the garage area. He has been out there running with a new axle, but apparently he has more problems. We'll get the word from Jackie Stewart on that in a moment. But here was what caused the current yellow. Car in a spin, that is J.D. McDuffie, number 70, edges into 19, and Bonnet goes by high. In a moment, we'll go down to Cale Yarborough's pit to find out what's happening there, but let me give you the hospital report from McLeod Hospital in Florence. They report that Skip Manning suffered a fractured ankle in that accident, that's all, and that Joe Frasson has a bruised pelvis. Okay, let's go down to Jackie Stewart.
Cale, what's the problem this time?
Well, Jack, it just seems like it's just not our day today. We're having transmission problems now. We've got a terrible vibration in the car, and I guess it's just shaking the transmission to where it just won't stay in gear.
Obviously, now it's a question of points and a championship.
Well, this is the reason we're trying to get back out so we can keep those points going, right?
All right, let's make a little correction here, too. Earlier, Jackie had said 75 points was his bulge over Benny Parsons. Actually, it's 99 over Parsons and 106 over third place Richard Petty. All right, we have the green flag out again. And in the lead is Darrell Waltrip, David Pearson, and Richard Petty is now third. By the way, if Cale had gone out earlier, he'd gotten only about 50 points. Right now, with 25 cars in the race, if he finishes 25th, he'll get at least 88 championship points. That's why it's so important to keep on running and run until that checkered flag is out. Waltrip, Pearson, and Petty, that's the way they stand right now.
And there's three men really charging for it. Darrell Waltrip in the lead, but David Pearson going up to take the lead, and this is important for David. Remember, David Pearson has won the Rebel 500 6 times, but he's never won this important race, the Southern 500. Darrell Waltrip certainly the least experienced of these three drivers in this race at this time.
And they're all going to be in future NASCAR races, which we'd like to remind you about right now. September the 26th, the Old Dominion 500 at Martinsville, Virginia. Then October the 3rd, the Wilkes 400 at Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And then on October the 10th, the National 500 in Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, Jackie mentioned earlier about the fact that David Pearson has never won the Southern 500, the same track on which the Rebel 500 is held. But David has been second here about 6 times, and Waltrip has been second twice. And judging by the way they're running, Jackie, neither of them wants to be second here today.
No, David Pearson must be the favourite of those two, although Richard Petty can never discount. But young Darrell Waltrip, who's trying to make a pass there, and he's got through all the way up there, a very busy one.
And that was some bit of driving with that slower car, and Petty hit the slower car and is into the wall. That gray car on the right-hand side of your screen there was just touched by Richard Petty, and we have another caution flag out. And Richard is smoking on the right side. I would guess probably that the metal is right up against the tires. We don't know whether he will be through for the afternoon, but they do miraculous things. Earlier, Jackie Stewart talked to Richard.
Is it more difficult to run this race at this time of the year than the April meeting?
Yeah, it's a lot worse to run. The track is a lot warmer, you know, the humidity and everything. And it's in the spring, it looks like that the cars just handle better and run better all day long, and that makes the drivers work better. But it gets awful hot here after about 4 hours, and the drivers and the cars, and I think the spectators all give up a little bit, you know, so it's just really tough.
King Richard, at age 38, stock car racing's only $2 million man. And he's going to be back racing here as soon as they get the rubber changed on the right side. His car is twisted a bit, but it is not broken. And, of course, he'll be chasing Pearson and Waltrip, or Waltrip and Pearson, whichever makes it out there under the green first. We'll be back in just a moment. 26 laps to go, or a little less than 40 miles, and number 71, Dave Marcus, holding the lead slimly over Darrell Waltrip in car number 88. David Pearson is third, Richard Petty is fourth, and then 1 lap down is Lenny Pond in car number 54. Car number 2 there on the race course is Bobby Allison. He's 12 laps behind the leaders, but he's not letting anybody by.
And there's a car going by now and trying to make an attempt for the lead. It's Darrell Waltrip trying to get past Dave Marcus, and he's done it. He's into the lead. Now it's going to be interesting to see how Darrell Waltrip deals with Bobby Allison. But there, 25 laps to go for David Pearson. The Wood brothers giving him a signal.
And the reason they are is because the two-way radio that they normally use in the Wood Brothers operation with David Pearson is not operating this afternoon. So they've gone back to the old-fashioned method. Well, it's quite a race. There are the first 3 cars right there. Waltrip, Marcus, and there goes Pearson passing Marcus. So David Pearson, can he hold it? Yep, he slides in there between Marcus and Bobby Allison ahead of him. So now the Silver Fox has moved up in there and is chasing Waltrip for the lead. Marcus third, Petty fourth.
And Bobby Allison's moving over now to let the faster cars through. He's being the gentleman that we all thought he was. He's certainly moved down the track there, and look at how Pearson suddenly has caught Waltrip. He comes off the corner there and slingshots him right past here. The power of this car, and the man obviously driving hard.
And he's driven a brilliant race today. He has stayed out of the troubles, as has Waltrip. And there they are. That's the way they are running on the race course and in the race itself. Pearson and Waltrip. Bobby Allison, although running third on the race course, is a lot down. And by the way, Cale Yarborough, of the 22 cars on the course, is 22nd, but he is running. Isn't that a remarkable story? With a complete new rear axle and complete new transmission.
And there's David Pearson going through there, staying high on the racetrack. My goodness, how he charges. The power that he has in this car and the way he handles it close to the end of a race has brought him so many victories of this kind.
He's going for his 9th of the season, and here are 2 who are battling out on that championship race. Benny Parsons in 72 and Richard Petty in car number 43. Parsons currently in 2nd place, Petty in 3rd, chasing Cale Yarborough, and there's a good picture of Cale. Car number 11, in 22nd place of 22 cars running, but that is important to him. 4 laps to go, and it's beginning to look as if David Pearson is going to win his 9th big race of the season in 16 outings. That is a remarkable record. He's already won $198,000.
Darrell Waltrip's really driving very hard, though. You can see the smoke coming off his tires just a few moments ago, and that's because the car is sliding on the racetrack. Richard Petty's putting an immense amount of pressure on him, and this pressure is for 2nd and 3rd position. There's only $4,000 in there, but that's a lot when it comes to a man's ego.
All right, here is Richard Petty going down low, and Waltrip will not let him by. Nice piece of driving by Darrell Waltrip, keeping Petty right where he wants it. And that's the way he'd like to take the checkered flag here this afternoon. 22 cars on the race course, and again, in case you missed it, Skip Manning was involved in the only serious accident. The report on him is that he's okay. He has a broken left ankle. All right, 2 laps to go, and David Pearson is getting closer and closer to a familiar flag, the checker that'll be coming out. Waltrip and Petty still dueling fiercely here to finish in 2nd place.
A very narrow racetrack, as we've said before. There seems only to be one groove around this racetrack, and if Darrell Waltrip uses it wisely, it's going to be very difficult indeed for Richard Petty to get under him or get over him to get to that checkered flag first of all.
It's been a long afternoon here, 500 miles, and look at that. Richard's left front wheel got down over that white line. A very dangerous spot to be. Had to back off. Waltrip won't give an inch. There's the leader. And that, of course, is David Pearson, who will get the checkered flag the next time around. Ooh, this does get dicey as they come down the backstretch. Waltrip trying to hang on. Petty right behind. Can he do it, Jackie?
He's going to make a try. He's going down low. He surely can't do it there. He's come very close. They're really close. The smoke coming off the tires there, and Richard Petty's done it. He's got right through, Bill.
I don't know how he did it, but Petty has taken over 2nd place. Pearson takes the checkered flag for 1st, and Petty will take 2nd. Waltrip will take 3rd, and what a daring piece of driving by King Richard.
That was sheer confidence from a driver's point of view to take him where he did, Bill. I have to take my hat off to him. I'm sure Darrell Waltrip's not taking his hat off, though.
Yeah, it cost him a few thousand right there. And, of course, as far as Richard is concerned, it gives him some valuable points. And as far as David Pearson is concerned, it gives him his 1st Southern 500. We'll be back to go down to Victory Road, but right now, this message.
Well, here we are down in Victory Lane, and coming up is David Pearson. This must be a great moment for him. 6 times he has won the Rebel race in the spring, but this is the first time that he has won the Southern 500. Let me get in here and get a word with him, Bill. Okay. David, you get the ice out of your mouth long enough to talk. This must be a big, big moment for you, the first time you won the Southern one after 6 second-place finishes.
It is. Of course, it's been a long time doing it, but we're just as happy winning this as we was the first one.
Dave, let me ask you, you lost your radio early in the race, and you had to take pit crew signs. Did that cause you any problem at all?
No, not really. Of course, they just didn't get to talk to me and encourage me a little bit, but I know the car was running real strong, and after we took some wedge out of it, it got to handle a lot better.
Let's call in Jackie Stewart here for a minute. Jackie, get a word with David Pearson.
Well, I think David's getting himself cleaned up. David, any trouble out there when all these accidents happen? Why do you think they all happened at that time?
I don't know, Jackie. I know that start of the race, I felt like some of them was driving a little bit wilder than I wanted to. And, of course, I just more or less took my time, and I didn't take any chances first part of the race. And really the only time I really had to run hard was right there at the end.
Okay. Well, it wasn't exactly, Jackie, the fastest race we've ever seen here at Darlington. I think the average speed was less than 120 miles an hour. But I can't ever recall seeing more bent metal out there. Can you?
Well, I think the reason for that is that everybody got a little complacent. I do think they were very careful when they started, and then as the race proceeded, they get a little too relaxed, and before we know where we are, the old lady at Darlington whipped back and took a lot of them out, Bill.
Yeah, she is a mean old lady. Well, before leaving here, let's take a check now on the final order of finish.
And officially, the first 5, David Pearson, Richard Petty, Darrell Waltrip, Dave Marcus, and Lenny Pond. And it certainly was worthwhile that the crew of Cale Yarborough worked so diligently on that car, because he retains his championship point lead.
Yes, I would doff my hat again, this time to Junior Johnson and the many mechanics who worked tirelessly all the way. Well, they say where there's a will, there's a way, Bill, and they certainly found the way.
It took them 44 minutes to change a rear axle and a new transmission, but they got him running and kept him running. Richard Petty, incidentally, moves into second place in the Point Derby, and Benny Parsons drops to third. We're happy to report that Skip Manning, who was injured in that accident, is resting comfortably at McLeod Hospital. He has a fractured left ankle. Now this is Bill Fleming, along with Jackie Stewart, saying so long from the Darlington Raceway. Stay tuned now for NCAA regional football coverage, which follows immediately over most of these ABC stations, except on the West Coast. The executive producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is Roone Arledge. Coordinating producer, Dennis Lewin. Southern 500 and High Diving, produced by Ned Steckel. Southern 500, directed by Lester Becker. High Diving, directed by Larry Cam. Ken Carter Preview, produced by Chris Carmody and Terry O'Neill. In Florida, our associate director was John DeLisa. Technical director, John Broderick. Be sure to be with us tomorrow over most of these ABC stations as College Football 76 presents highlights of some of today's key NCAA games. Then on Monday night, two great football rivals, the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs, square off on NFL Monday Night Football at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. Fly the friendly skies of United, where you're the boss.